It's 7 p.m., so I'm going to get us started. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. I am Kari Gordy, member of the Alaska Common Ground Board. I want to welcome you to tonight's discussion on recycling in Anchorage. We start tonight by recognizing that I and many of the participants in tonight's discussion are in the Anchorage area, and that we are therefore on the traditional lands of the Dena'ina Athabascan people. We honor with gratitude the land itself and the Dena'ina people, past, present, and future. Tonight's event is hosted by Alaska Common Ground, whose mission is an engaged Alaskan democracy. Founded by Alaskans passionate about fostering civil dialogue around public policy issues, for over 3 decades, we have hosted presentations and discussions like tonight's in order to build a better understanding of issues important to our state. You can find more information and all our previous events, including several on energy and climate topics, on our website, akcommonground.org. Tonight, we are going to hear from Kelli Toth, Director of the Muni's Solid Waste Services, although she started as the recycling coordinator. Kelli will talk to us about what's happening with recycling in Anchorage, and we know you're curious from all the questions we've already received. But first, a little housekeeping. Tonight's event is a Zoom webinar. Kelli will talk for about 35 minutes, after which she will respond to your questions. The event will run until 8 p.m. If you do have questions, please type them into the Q&A feature, not the chat feature. The Q&A feature you should be able to find that at the bottom of your screen. We will collect these and I will present the questions to Kelli. This event is being recorded. It will be available on Alaska Common Ground's website at akcommonground.org. And anyone who signed up for tonight's event will receive an email with a link to the recording along with other resources on tonight's topic. Alaska Common Ground cannot conduct the work we do without the support of our members and donors. If you would like to support free events like this, please consider becoming a member or making a donation online at akcommonground.org. There should be a link in the chat. And now I'm going to turn it right on over to Kelli, our presenter for tonight's discussion. Take it away, Kelli.
Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, Kari and AK Common Ground, for your invitation to participate today. It's quite an honor and an awesome opportunity to start having more of a public conversation around recycling and diversion and all things trash, because as I say, who knew that trash could be so much fun and so interesting and important. So we're going to talk about what happens beyond the trash can today. I am going to rapid fire this presentation because there's a lot to cram into 30 minutes. I'm only going to give you a highlight of everything that Solid Waste Services does, what we do, kind of how we operate, and then if there's anything specific that you want to really dive into, there might be an opportunity for future presentations. So today is just going to be a rapid fire overview of what we do. So to begin, Solid Waste Services, our mission is safe, innovative, and sustainable solid waste management for the Municipality of Anchorage and within the Municipality of Anchorage. We are not tax funded. We are actually user pay, user benefit. We operate as a enterprise utility, which means we balance as a business, the bottom line, while also making sure that we are good stewards as a public entity. SWS, what we're going to cover today is the SWS operations and functions, a closer look at recycling in Anchorage, what SWS is doing for sustainability, and how you can get involved. So Solid Waste Services has a mandatory collection area, which means if you live anywhere inside this red line that you see, this border line, this is by ordinance our mandatory collection area. You receive a free recycling cart as part of that service. So the more you recycle, the less goes into the landfill. And then also you can take advantage of the curbside composting program that we have in the summertime. We have 4 various different facilities that we operate: the Anchorage Regional Landfill, fondly named ARL, Girdwood Transfer Station, the Material Recovery Facility, or MRF, and the new Central Transfer Station. We also have collections, that is the big red trucks that you see out there on the Glen Highway. We have 2 main utilities. We have the disposal crew and we have a collections crew. And to support these 2 operations, we have our valued customer service team and our vehicle maintenance shops. So the Anchorage Regional Landfill, this is where all of your away goes. Everything that is put in a trash can in Anchorage ends up here at the Anchorage Regional Landfill. So what happens, besides us compacting and burying the trash daily, is we collect the landfill gas. So what you see here is piping that is horizontal piping, and we also have vertical piping that collects all of the landfill gas, and it goes to the landfill gas to energy plant. It powers about 7 megawatts of power all the time, and it powers that would equal to about 6,000 homes. Our stats, the bottom line is that we bury about 1.65 million pounds a day, and we were speaking before this presentation, it equates to about imagining the old, what used to be called the BP Energy Center every single day. It's a lot. The material recovery facility now accepts all organics, including fish waste. And I'm going to talk about that more in just a moment. Because if you're a gardener, you know fish waste is not a waste at all. It's actually, as I always say, trash is treasure. It's a very valued supplement for your garden. In 2017, we did a waste composition study, and as you can see here, if you added up the total of just the organics itself, 56.8% of what goes in the landfill could have been diverted and could have been used in another way. So that's what I believe to be quite an opportunity. Said another way, the waste stream here, everything that you see on the screen, if it were separated out, 39.2% was green waste. Only 27.6 amount would be in the garbage, would go into the landfill, and all of these could be potentially diverted. So that reduces the amount of volume going to the landfill every day by quite a bit. When we talk about recycling, we talk about the big 4, but then I added a few at the end here. So the easiest things to recycle are your cardboard, your mixed paper, aluminum, plastics number 1 and 2, and we're going to get into the weeds with that a little bit, organics, glass, and electronics. It's important to realize that Alaska is like an island up here. We are geographically challenged, let's say. All of our goods, most of them are shipped in by barge. Some comes in by airplane, but a lot of it comes in by barge. And those barges then come back to the West Coast. We partner with ALPAR, Alaskans for Litter Prevention and Recycling. They negotiate a backhaul rate so that these recyclables can go down to the West Coast to be recycled. I do have a video available. I don't have it for today's presentation, but I'm happy to share. I actually went down there and confirmed exactly where our recyclables go to the material recovery facility on the West Coast here. But it's important to know that, because when you talk about what is a circular economy, that all of a sudden becomes even more important. When you talk about the programming of recycling, it's also important to consider that every single aspect of a recycling program is like cogs in a wheel. The volume has to match every single section. So for example, if I had a bucket of crushed glass, well, I can collect that in a bucket. But if I had 2 tons of glass, a bucket's not going to handle it. So how am I going to collect the material? Glass was just an example, but that's applied to all of those recyclables that I just spoke about. You need to look at the resource recovery, the personnel, what containers, how it's going to be transported, how the material is processed, and then how is it remanufactured or exported, and then is there market demand? All of those things are very, very important. And the recycling ecosystem in Alaska, quite frankly, is very fragile. And so we have to be very thoughtful about how we deal with it. Here's an example of aluminum cans. This is a really great example. Aluminum cans can be recycled infinitely without degradation of material. So why would we throw an aluminum can in the trash? Like, that should not happen. Because at the end of the day, what we're bringing in, for example, in 2021, we brought in 564,000 pounds. That equals to about 5 cans per person per month. Is that an opportunity? I think it is. Another thing that we can think about in terms of recycling is on a larger scale, all the scrap metal that gets exported out of here, out of Anchorage, is another great opportunity. So all the scrap metal, it just is thinking, this picture is really meant to get folks to think about all the metal that you have and the fact that it can be recovered and exported. I want to just talk a moment about our material recovery facility. It's a new facility. It was promised to the city of Anchorage when we opened this new facility here at the Central Transfer Station that we would open a material recovery facility, and we went with some of the easiest materials and what made sense to divert. Organics make up quite a bit of what is the reason why we make up so much of the landfill gas. It generates landfill gas. So we want to divert as much of the organics as we can. So at the material recovery facility, we collect the organics, we collect plastics, and we also are open this year for free for the central woodlot. And what you see on that picture is our shredder getting loaded up and shredding the wood. For organics last year, we collected the most that we ever have. We collected 30% more organics, 564 tons and a half, almost tons of that came to the material recovery facility. And that goes out to a farm in Palmer where it is used as a soil amendment. Here, year over year, you can see we've done a very good job of increasing. And that last year, our material recovery facility was only open 3 days a week. So we're doing something right, which is exciting. Now for plastics. So what's in the numbers? Here you've got all the different chasing arrows and the different types of plastics. You see here number ones and number twos. SWS only collects number 1 and number 2 bottles, so that's anything with a neck and a cap, in our commingled recycle carts. But our partners, Alaska Plastic Recovery, collects all number 1s, all number 2s, and all number 5s. So that opens the door for a lot more plastics collection. So here's the example of what SWS used to collect only, but now at the material recovery facility only, not in your recycle cart, we will be able to take more than just what you see on the screen. Alaska Plastic Recovery, Patrick could probably do his own presentation and we could spend a full hour just talking about all things plastics, but what he's doing is a really great service for the community, really for our state. Last year we had about 2,600 customers, over 2,600 customers. between May and October. And the plastic drop off last year was free. This year it's $5 so that we can help to cover some of his costs. Last year, the central woodlot, we took in 1,400 loads of brush. The staff worked quite a bit, and we brought in some revenue that helped to offset some of our costs, as well as being subsidized by a grant through the Anchorage Fire Department. This year, we opened the woodlot, the central woodlot, and the regional landfill woodlot for free, which means SWS will be absorbing those costs this year. We offer a curbside compost. I mentioned that before. And we also have a drop off. You can bring a 5-gallon bucket of organics for free. You can bring your food waste here to the transfer station. There's pink buckets, pink carts out there at the public wall, or you can bring it into the material recovery facility, which is across the street. 1 5-gallon bucket is free. Glass right now, we do not have a circular economy for glass. And I should have put a slide in here about what I mean by circular economy. Instead of depending on shipping these items out of state, it would be great if we could find a use for all of this glass. Right now, we are collecting it and we crush it, but we do not have a sizable amount of demand right now for this glass. So we need to come together as a community and start applying this glass in different places. It's beautiful. It'd be great to make a pair of earrings, but a pair of earrings isn't going to touch the big mountain of glass that we have. So we can do more. There's a lot of opportunity for that. And we are working with the University of Alaska Anchorage on some beneficial use projects in circular economy for this. So it's exciting to partner with the university on that. The reuse, if you've ever been to Remade, this is just one really fantastic place that has developed a fantastic community where, this woman, for example, happened to be visiting family, and she was a gifted artist, and she went in there and she just painted up all kinds of cool stuff. And so Remade sold it, but they have an entire less waste movement, and it's a pretty fantastic place. But they will take in broken items, and then they have makers that will fix it up and get ready to sell it. So anything that we can do to keep items out of the landfill. I never really thought about the landfill or the opportunity for airspace as an asset before I came to work here at Solid Waste Services. But now I'm very much convinced that this is an asset that we need to protect, and we need to do what we can to lengthen the life of the landfill through all these programs. So we collect lots of organics. I mentioned that before. We also teach vermiculture, which is basically composting with worms. If you come to visit the Central Transfer Station, you can see bin number 1 of, I believe, 7 bins now in the Anchorage School District, where these worms live all throughout the city, teaching people about the importance and the power of worms. This slide, I took this picture. This is a compostable cup that was lined with plastic. So you have to be very careful and read the fine print, because while this may look like it's a compostable cup, if you threw this in your compost bin, you're going to end up with some microplastics. Those little worms are very smart, and they can get in there and they eat everything that was compostable, leaving this saran wrap like film on it. So something that people should know. SWS has partnered up with Anchor Gardens, and we are teaching hot composting, backyard composting classes, and vermiculture classes. So they are a fantastic resource if you want to learn more about how to compost in your backyard. There are many community gardens throughout the city now, and Anchor Gardens has a garden coach in every community. So if you're interested in that, here's a list of all the different partners, and it continues to grow, all the different folks and networks that we have that we work with. So lots of opportunities and lots of recycling and diversion, lengthening the life of the landfill. All of these different groups are coming together to do just that. The Cinderella story, as far as the circular economy goes, that I believe in Alaska. This is not in Anchorage, but I'm not endorsing, the municipality doesn't endorse any particular products, but I want to tell you the story that Thermal Cool Alaska employs 7 local Alaskans. They are located out in the valley, and they produce blown-in insulation. They take all the cardboard that they collect throughout the valley, and they make blown-in insulation. They also make a stable bedding. They make a mulch for hydro seeding, and they also have an AK Zorbit, which is like a material that collects liquids. This is something that is a great opportunity. This is an example of what we should be doing with all of our recyclables, is what can we do to collect it, to make it, and to have a demand for it, like I was talking about in that previous slide. Again, we have a lot of opportunity for collecting more of these big bales that weigh about 1,000 pounds a piece when they head out the door. But what is SWS doing besides recycling and composting programs? Well, we have a couple of other things. We have our vehicle trucks. We have 2 of them that are part of a Department of Energy grant that we're working on. We're gathering more data and learning more about these trucks every single day. If you see them out on the road, give them a wave. You won't hear them coming. They're very quiet. And then also we have a solar array out at the landfill that produces about 50 kilowatts for SWS, and it produces enough electricity to run the entire pump house for our leachate program. And anything we produce, sometimes we have a little bit of excess that we produce that we provide to Matanuska Electric Association, but it's right now we use a lot of what we make. We also have a combined heat and power system here at the Central Transfer Station that will power 325 kilowatt max capacity. Those are still working on getting those online, but that will definitely have a dent in basically we'll be able to produce our own little microgrid should the power go out. When we talk again, this is an overview of what the Anchorage Regional Landfill looks like. Basically, we're taking the trash from all over. 80% of what ends up in the landfill comes through here, the Central Transfer Station first. But it's something that's really important to think about is every single day we're putting in an immense amount. We're just continuing to bury it. It is not necessarily a sustainable model, which is why SWS is looking into waste to energy. According to the EPA, the best practices for trash is to start with your source reduction and reuse, like what I talked about for remade, or as a consumer thinking about, do you buy the clamshell plastic container of apples, the cardboard box full of apples, or just a couple of apples in a reusable bag? As a consumer, you get to choose that. And I know that I'm singing to the choir here, and you all are probably really good at already considering that, but it's the rest of the world that we need to kind of think about source reduction and reuse. Recycling and compost, I've talked about that already. And now I'm going to talk about energy recovery, which is the waste to energy opportunity that Anchorage has in the future. So our current capacity, we have about 44 million cubic yards of capacity left, about 60 to 70 years left of operational life. When you're thinking about 1,200 tons per day, that's a lot. Our total design footprint is about 165 acres, and we have about 117 acres already lined. And I could talk a whole hour just on the engineering of the landfill. But what is waste to energy? Basically, you bring in your MSW or municipal solid waste, and it goes through a combustion chamber, and then there's steam that's produced, and then it generates power, and then the power goes out to the grid. So you have the incoming waste, combustion, water heating steam, steam turning turbines. There's a lot of concern. Most of the expense is right here, which is scrubbing the air by wet scrubbers and dry scrubbers to ensure that there is no negative impacts to the environment. SWS's mission, we are on the front lines of environmental stewardship. We're the ones that are protecting the environment the most when you consider that we have a lined landfill. We are constantly monitoring the air. We are constantly monitoring the water. So that trash has to go somewhere, and we manage it, and we manage it to the best benefit of not only the Anchorage residents, but also the environment. We all live here. I was born and raised here. We all want to take care of our own land and our own neighborhoods. Waste to energy is something that is common in many other places. This is a picture of our deputy municipal manager, Mr. Spafford. And what you see behind him, and it's cut off, but what you see behind him is a waste to energy plant. There's nothing coming out of that stack. It is clean, it makes sense, and it makes energy. Instead of just continually filling up a hole, we're actually doing some good with it, and we're being responsible with it. And I would love to have a further in-depth conversation about more detail about that. But for today, I just want you to know that that's kind of where we're heading. So in a nutshell, we're constantly moving. We hired a new sustainability manager, Rochelle Johnson. I'm so happy that she's here, and you'll be able to hear more from her. We are hiring a recycling coordinator. We're exploring new ways to improve our energy consumption, and you'll hear more about that. And also finding ways to divert more from the landfill. Like we just did our first electronics take back day. It was a free electronics collection day. We brought in over 600 pounds of electronics without a whole lot of promotion on purpose, because we needed to know what we were doing and how it's all going to work. So stay tuned for part 2 of Solid Waste Services electronics collection event in the fall. But we're not stopping there. We're continually looking for ways that we can just divert as much as we can. What can you do? Help educate and make informed decisions about your trash. And before you throw something away, ask yourself, is this really trash? Is it really meaningless? Or is it still treasure? Is there still value in what you're putting in the garbage? And that's why my friend Anita at Alpar says, twin the bin. Put your recycle bin right where your point is of decision, if it goes to be buried in the landfill or if it can be recycled. Another way to get involved is the Solid Waste Advisory Commission, Solid Waste and Recycling Advisory Commission. We meet monthly. Those are public meetings. I'd love to see people come and participate and offer up your suggestions or come hear what's happening, because we have monthly topics, and you can catch us on our website or on Facebook, social media. We do have an upcoming open house, May 26th at the Central Transfer Station from 1 to 4 p.m. That's a free event. We also have our friends at Zero Waste. It's a new grassroots group who is getting together to talk more about what other potential opportunities there might be. So they're meeting here on May 29th from 12 to 1:30. And that's it from me. If you have any questions that we're not able to cover today, please go to recycle@muni.org. You can get in touch with me there. This QR code is a dynamic QR code, and you can pretty much choose your own adventure.
Hey,
You can go to our website, you
Kelly,
can go to Facebook. Yes.
I'm going to interrupt you because I'm
Yeah.
not seeing the slides anymore. So why don't you put up?
Oh, that's weird. Okay. I'll just stop sharing because I'm at the end.
Might just be a me problem.
I've been seeing them, Kari.
Okay, perfect. Excellent. Thank you, Dory. Appreciate it. Just a me problem.
That's okay. I'm at the end. So I'm happy to take any questions, but just thank you for the opportunity. I think that recycling and diversion from the landfill and thinking of it as an asset, you know, people say if you don't think of the landfill, then we must be doing something right. But at the same time, I think that we need to have more public conversations about what we're doing with our solid waste and how we're managing it.
Thank you. Sorry to interrupt you there at
No,
the
you're
end.
good.
I was
Okay.
thinking that I don't know why mine went away. Thank you so much. That was really interesting. We have, of course, received questions. I really appreciated everyone sending in questions ahead of time, and so we have those as well. So we'll work through some of these. So there's lots of questions about plastics. There's lots of questions about composting and then electronics, and you've covered some of that. So one thing is, he's actually a committee member who really had success with a low-cost composting bin, and he's been composting ever since. And so he's wondering if there's some kind of program available so other people can also benefit from composting bins and start composting at home.
Absolutely. Thanks for bringing that up and congrats for getting your composting bin working and being successful with it. It can be as simple as I had a person send me a picture of a compost bin that literally they were in a condo association and they got approval from their board and they just did a wire round cage and they filled it up and they did like a lasagna compost and they watered it, and then to turn it they just basically picked up the wire, flopped it over to aerate the pile back into another bin. It's very simple. Composting, while it seems daunting and intimidating, is quite simple and easy. And I would highly encourage people to go to Anchor Gardens because they have free courses. We will be hosting one, I believe, here at the Central Transfer Station. And if you come by, you can see my little compost bin out there. We put it together. It's just made out of pallets. There's nothing fancy about it. You don't have to buy a bin. You can just design one yourself. Again, we're talking about zero waste here. It's not hard and you don't have to put a lot of money into it to be successful.
Thanks. I see that some of the questions are ending up in chat, and it's easier for us to collect them if they go into Q&A. So that's just a note for everyone there. There were a couple other composting questions. One is, how long is the drop-off program going to go? You usually have an end date at the end of October-ish.
Yeah, good question. I didn't make a lot of friends last year. I'm just going to be straight up with you. In the past, we always ended it in September. That's how it used to be. Last year, 2 years ago, we ended it in October because we thought we could extend the season, but Mother Nature had other designs. And so we were freezing a lot at night, which meant we had a lot of organic compost popsicles and it was not working on our collections trucks. And there was a lot of frustration by not only our drivers, but also our customers that were not getting their bins emptied correctly. So that is why last year we said we're going back to the end of September, because I don't believe we're going to freeze in September, but October can be questionable. So I tried to extend it. It didn't really work out. So sorry, we're going back and it will end in September. We may be able to keep the material recovery facility open one extra month in October. So folks are still welcome and they can bring their compost organics, compostables here through October. But curbside has to end in September.
Curbside, and then also the drop off at the MRF will end in September.
I think we may, yes, but we may end up being able to keep that open. It
I want
just,
to open a little
you know,
longer.
if we have a killer snowstorm, I don't want our big trucks,
Yep.
you know, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. And then you used to offer free compost that people could pick up, and I know that program's gone.
Yes, it is. We had some management challenges with that, so that is not an option now.
And then people are wondering exactly what they can put in with the compost and the organics and stuff. And you've got some information on your website. It's probably the easiest place to go. Is there
We
a
do. Yep, that's all on our website. Thanks for the question. I just want to be super clear. I mentioned about fish waste. Do not put that in your pink bin. Don't bait the bears. That would be bad. So the only thing that can go in those pink bins and your curbside composting, there are some pockets within the city that are that they do have collections curbside by another company. There are some outside of our service area, but please do not put meat or fish in your curbside. It's just putting out a buffet for the wildlife. But you can bring the fish waste here to the material recovery facility where we can control how it's managed. So I just want to be abundantly clear about that. Please do not put any fish or meat in your curbside bin, but you can bring it to the MRF.
It's a little tricky, isn't it, when
I
you've got
know.
different things for different places? And I know with plastics, it's some of the same stuff. But again, the website has all that information, I'm assuming,
Mhm.
what you can take to the MRF versus what can go in the bins and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. You said the open house was the 26th, it sounds
Mhm.
like.
Yep.
And that was yesterday.
June 26th.
Okay.
I'm so sorry. I'm just living in the past.
Okay. So
June
that
26th.
was one question that came up.
Moving quick. Yeah.
Um, And then this is a question about, there's the solid waste services service area, and then there's the rest of us that live outside of the solid waste
Mhm.
services. And so there's free recycling in solid waste service
Mhm.
area, but the rest of us are paying for it. Is there any kind of program to try to encourage other trash collectors to start um, having us have free recycling pickup?
I would say that that is the difference between being a government entity and a private company. And I I have no control over private companies. So I will say though, I'll just be straight up here too, which I always am. I shouldn't just say that, but just to say the commercial haulers in this town do very much support the community. So they do give back in many different ways. I don't have any control over, whether or not they offer a free service, but I do want to recognize that they do quite a bit, like for citywide cleanup, for example. I know that some companies do bike giveaways and all kinds of other ways that they um, interact and support the community. So
Okay. Somebody's wondering if it's okay to crush the cans that go into the curbside recycling.
yes, you sure can. Yep. Because it all gets baled and squished together. So absolutely.
Do you know of a place to recycle plastic flower pots?
Thanks for asking the question. Flower pots are kind of an interesting thing. Some gardening garden stores will take them back. Some nurseries will, but sometimes then they'll say, sorry, we're full. We don't need any more. However, Yard Utopia, if you go online to Yard Utopia, they will take all kinds of gardening supplies, including plastic pots. And then what's really cool is in the spring, you can go there and pick up the plastic pots. So they have all kinds of gardening supplies available there for drop off and for pickup, and it's free. It's just a little garden depot that they do. There's one particular, the main one is there off of Chichaco, but I would encourage people to go to their website, and they need all the volunteers that they could get. They always need help turning their compost piles. They've got soil amendments and compost and all kinds of really neat items there. So I highly encourage people to integrate in with Yard Utopia.
People are wondering, there's a question about those cardboard takeout food containers that kind of have a little bit of a lining. Can those be recycled or composted?
I will phone a friend on that one. I'm a little bit hesitant on that one, so I'm going to need to get back to you on that one.
I think, a lot of these questions are, what will you take this and where can I take this? And again, so just again, the solid waste services pages have information on what we can drop off in different places, I know.
Yeah. I will offer that. I went to the paper mill. I went to the Smurfit West Rock paper mill on the West Coast and saw the whole process. And, people have asked me the question like, well, what about the little windows in the, envelopes? Well, it all goes into a big pot, and it all is separated out anyway. So it's not a deal breaker. But at the same time, if you're a composter, did you know that cardboard is a fantastic weed blocker? And when it breaks down, it goes back into the earth. Obviously, remove the tape and such, but that absolutely can be a great weed blocker. And so you can use your paper in different ways. So
I tried that last summer myself and it's mostly working.
Mostly working.
The wood lot. So this person has taken apart wood items that have some nails left in it. But is the wood lot just for down trees and sort of garden debris, yard debris, or is it can you take treated lumber there and stuff like that?
Yeah, the wood lot, thanks, because that's a big clarification. The wood lot is meant for as a wildfire mitigation. It was SWS's opportunity to try to make a huge impact on our fire danger that we are facing this year with the spruce bark beetle kill and the big windstorms that we had. So it truly is for wildfire mitigation, which means cleaning up the downed trees. Building materials are not considered part of that. But if you take that out to the Anchorage Regional Landfill, check that website to see what you have and what is on that list. And then you can take it out to the regional landfill, but not here to the central transfer station. This is all really an effort to try to get at the wildfire mitigation.
You mentioned that methane was generating power out of the landfill, and somebody was wondering about how much that's producing and if it's still powering Fort Rich.
Yes, it is. They generate about 7 megawatts of power, and it is still powering part of the military base. That's where it goes now. But we're just so people know, we're always keeping our eyes open for any opportunities that we can capture more of that gas, and you'll be hearing more about that. We talk about that often when we get a chance to share updates with our assembly, for example. In the administration, we talk about upgrades to our gas collection and control system. So we are putting in new blowers. We'll be putting in an additional flare, but just know we're also looking at additional beneficial use for that. So our last result, our intent is to utilize and apply as much of whatever it is beneficial use as far as landfill gas or recycling or the composting or what have you. So we're doing what we can to get the most out of it for the most benefit for residents.
And that's different from the proposed waste to energy facility, which of course is going to be, which is being planned. Um, where is that going to be sited, and when is it likely to be operational? I know that that's a topic for its own session, probably, but
it's a big topic, and we
yeah.
would love to come back and just focus on the waste to energy. The program, the planning for it is underway right now. There has not been a site selected. We are just in the beginning phase of it. We plan to have a request for proposal go out hopefully within the next few years. That request for proposal with all of everything is going to be able to go out there. And in the meantime, we're engaging with the public. I believe that Alaskans can figure out whatever they need to figure out when we all get together and sit around a table and just talk it out, which is exactly what this platform is about. So what are the things that people are concerned about? What are the things, can we rally together and try not to bury the trash anymore? Can we rally together to turn it into energy in a more sustainable way that still, treats the environment the way it needs to be treated? Those are really important topics, and this is fully brand new, and you guys are one of the first groups that we can engage with to have a conversation. So I believe that there's more to come on it. We'd like to see it done on an accelerated schedule. So the sooner we can move with things, the better. But I think it's really important that this be an organic group of folks that think that it's important, that they want to, engage and get involved. So I'd love to have a conversation about that.
Sounds like we need to consider hosting an event just on that. On a different topic, the school district doesn't necessarily recycle as well as maybe they could. Are there ways to encourage the school district?
I have the coolest story, and I know we're running out of time, but I have to give a shout out to Luna, a student at high school here in Anchorage. She was president of their eco club at the high school. Her and her staff actually wrote a presentation and worked with me, and we figured it out what they were going to teach. They reached out to an elementary school. They taught the class at the elementary school to a bunch of fifth graders and just had a ball. And it was like the kiddos learned something, the high schoolers learned something, and they were so excited about it. I think that's a program that could easily be replicated throughout the Anchorage School District. In every high school, they have a green club or an eco club. Similarly, the group out at Eagle River High School, they do a Christmas event. It's a holiday collection time when we see a huge uptick in cardboard and wrapping paper. Certain wrapping paper we can take, some you can't. But anyway, they do a big collection every year, and it's now become an Eagle River High School tradition. It's just what they're doing. So to answer your question, I think there's, Anchorage has a lot of opportunity for improving on our public conversations around waste diversion. I believe it starts with an understanding of how the landfill works, how much is going in there. And if you ever get a chance to come, please come to the open house or any other time, because standing at this observation deck, it's a floor to ceiling window where you can be triggered, trust me, by what is actually going in those trucks and what's going out to the landfill. It's astonishing the opportunity that we have to divert more from the landfill. So I think with that, love to have more folks come, because I agree there is lots of opportunities for improvement.
We'll share information on the open house with everybody who's on here too. Let's see. Do you have any grants or compensation options? I mean, it's kind of to encourage businesses or nonprofits to recycle. So are there ways that you can encourage? I mean, it's the funding question is kind of a part of a lot of these other questions, like if there's some financial incentive. So one thing you're doing is with the woodlot, you're allowing us all to drop off our wood for free but still trying to get the circular economy that you're talking about. Are there ways to try to jumpstart that you have available?
We've talked to the university about maybe doing some programming or something, some kind of a tagging on with a program maybe that they're already doing, that we could have more of a public conversation around, like, some kind of a contest or something, or some way to bring those items to the public forefront and say, what could you do with this cardboard kind of thing? Maybe that would be a great opportunity. I'm one person, and I'm bringing on an additional. I'm so happy Rochelle is with us, and shout out to you, Rochelle, if you're online. So happy that she's here, because she's going to help with those kinds of programming, and so will the new diversion coordinator when they get on board. But there are great opportunities, I think, that abound for us. We just need to get there. So we do have a recycle trailer. So those have been artsied up or glitzed up by the 1% for art. I think that's a great opportunity for businesses if they want to be a corporate sponsor and sponsor a recycling event on their own. They can do that. There's lots of opportunities out there.
So is that a trailer that a company could request that's in front of their business for a period of time or something? Oh,
Yep. So, and we did try to highlight that last year at the citywide cleanup. I think there's a lot of opportunities, like it's even at citywide cleanup, trying to say, like, carry 2 bags, one for recycling and one for trash, and just empty your recycle bag in the trailer and go back out and get more items, kind of thing. So there's a lot of opportunity out there. It's just the gems are where you find them and where you want to put your time and energy. And we're trying to build our team. And I also think the Solid Waste and Recycling Commission is talking about the opportunity maybe for a volunteer green team. So for example, we partnered with the Anchorage Downtown Partnership and did Live After 5, and we did recycling there. Well, wouldn't it be neat if we had people in green vests that talked all about all the things that I just went over, so that it's not just my voice out into the wilderness, but it's everybody saying the same thing, and that we dispel all these myths, and that we share what we know to be true, and tell people that it is worth it to try to divert as much as we can from that landfill.
Yeah. Still questions about composting. So there aren't plans to expand composting citywide, because Solid Waste Services only has its particular service area. So the rest of us have to drop our stuff off at the MRF.
Yes, but I have to give a shout out to the one large commercial company who, when we first opened the material recovery, I keep looking that way because that's where it is, the old tipping floor over there. When we first opened that, I was not expecting that the commercial hauler because the tipping fee is half the price. So if you are a landscaper and you don't bag your grass, for example, you can put it all bulk, or you can put it in bags and plan on emptying them on the tipping floor. You can cut your tipping fee in half. So you pay half price as a commercial person. You would pay half the tipping fee. That encouraged, just by economics, encouraged a commercial hauler to expand their commercial collections. And then they expanded it again this year. So it's kind of neat that because we opened that up, that's encouraging more folks to do that. And I would say if anybody knows a mom and pop landscaper out there, please tell them, plan on bringing your organics, your grass, your leaves, whatever it is that you're gathering up in those trailers, leave them loose, put them in the trailer, and come to the material recovery facility. We're open Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. I wanted to be open 6 days a week, but we are very short staffed right now. We are doing the very best that we can to keep the gates open for everyone. But we would love to see people. There's no reason to bring it here. I get it. The schedule is a little bit wonky right now, but it'll save you money, and it doesn't have to go to the landfill, and it doesn't produce the landfill gas. So it goes right back in as that soil amendment. So yeah.
There's a lot of concern about if things get mixed up. Does that mean like you put the wrong thing in the recycling bin and the whole load gets messed up? I think we're all nervous about what we put where and wanting to make sure that it's done right.
Yep. So that's a really great one. We do have sometimes our collections drivers will see, for example, clothing or hockey gear or something hanging out of a recycle bin. And at that point, they will tag it and say, we're just going to come back and take this as trash. And then, so if it's an obvious contamination, our collections drivers are going to intervene. If it ends up coming here, then what happens is we take it right over to Smurfit West Rock and we drop our stuff off over there. So we keep in contact, and they can kind of tell if it's a good load or not a good load. And if it's not a good load, then we have to take it out to the landfill. So wish cycling is a thing. It is a phenomenon. People, pick up, this this granola bar thing and say, gosh, I really would rather not put this in the landfill, so I'm just going to put it in the recycle bin. Please don't do that, because if you think about it, we're shipping it all. We're baling it, we're loading it, then we're shipping it, and then it has to get offloaded, and then the bale has to be opened, and then it gets separated. So why spend all that time and energy when it's going to be just thrown in the trash anyway? So please help to protect those resources too. We only have a finite number of barges that leave Anchorage right now, and we want it to be all the recyclables and not trash.
And that the stuff that gets shipped on the barge, that does include cardboard, right?
Yep.
Somebody was wondering, I think with your cardboard, what you were talking about, but a lot of cardboard does get shipped out as well.
Yep. I tell you, our recycling center, you can recycle cardboard right here at the tipping wall at the Central Transfer Station. We have a recycle center out at the Eagle River landfill, at the Anchorage Regional Landfill. And then also Smurfit West Rock, you can go there. They're open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And they are a private company. They're a paper company. And they will take all that cardboard. And when I take my cardboard over there, if you want a shot in the arm of happiness, that's a place to go, because people are happy and they feel great when they recycle. Same going to the material recovery facility. People come with their hoarded plastics that they've been hanging on to all winter long, and they're so happy to know that it's going for good. So really hanging on to their trash and putting it in as a treasure is a really great feeling. And it's like Disneyland over there. I don't know. It's fun. It's happy.
But you don't take plastic bags, right? So is there a place to recycle plastic bags in
I
town?
don't think he's taking plastic bags at this time. He might be able to open that up to that in the future. And I do want to say there have been some rumblings. I believe that there is another group that does collect other plastics. I think I can't recall the name of the group, but there are two of them. Alaska's plastic recovery is not just the only one. There's a couple of other maybe startups that are happening, which is fantastic. That's what we want because Pat probably has plenty of plastic that he's working on now. He wants to continue to collect it, but just know there might be other folks out there that have this similar ideas, which is fantastic because you know what? There's plenty of plastic to go around. So.
Yeah, and again, it's hard to find all the find where all these places are too. But do you have information on all these different groups that are collecting plastics? You probably not on your
I
website,
I
right?
don't on the website right
Yeah,
now, but I will be as soon as I hear more
yeah.
details about
I
those
know we
things.
got a note, and we'll be sharing that. Cook Inlet Tribal Council, I think.
That's it. That's the one.
That's the one. Yeah.
Thank
Okay.
you. Yes, that's the
We got a
one.
note about that just
Thank
during
you.
this. All
Yep.
right. I think there are just a couple more, just quick questions. I know we're a little bit past 8, but they're wondering about potting soil in that compost bin.
Yeah, absolutely. Put it in
Okay.
there.
And
Mhm.
then somebody else is wondering how clean your recyclables need to be. So if you're picking up trash, is it okay if it's kind of dirty and you can put the recyclable stuff in the recycling?
Yeah, it's okay. Pizza boxes for a while were a big, should we or shouldn't we? And we say, yes, you should. I mean, pick it off and clean it off the best you can. Think about it in terms of, what is going to attract pests. That's really the big deal. So if you have a whole bunch of food items stuck in there, or if it's super sweet or, as an attractant, that's the reason why it needs to be so clean. So the cleaner, the better, because it's less the attractants that we have to worry about. So that really is the bottom line with that one.
And again, the MRF for drop off is open
Yeah,
Thursday through,
Thursday, Friday, and Saturdays.
and
Yep,
what hours?
8 to 3:30.
8 to 3:30. And again, that information can be found
Yeah.
on Solid Waste Services website.
Hmm.
And then we'll share that out as well. All right. Well, we've gone past 8 and you've answered all kinds of questions. Hopefully, we got to everybody's questions more or less. A huge thank you to Kelli Toth for presenting tonight. We know you are really busy, and we're grateful to you for sharing all your information with us. And another big thank you to Alaska Common Ground has a very hardworking climate and energy working group who put this event together. It includes Mary Lou Hall, Cami Dalton, Peg Talston, Gretchen Nelson, Sandy Rabinowitz, and Danielle Williams, who have put in a lot of hours, and especially Cami and Gretchen, who are helping behind the scenes tonight with all the questions. We're going to be definitely working on follow-up events to this, so please stay tuned for those. An additional thank you to Jess Brolick for setting up and running the Zoom show this evening and the multitude of other things she does to make Alaska Common Ground's efforts possible. I am especially grateful for her since that used to be my job and it no longer is. And a really special thanks to all of you who took time this evening to attend the session and learn about recycling in Anchorage. And obviously there's a lot of interest for all of this. If you're not already an Alaska Common Ground member, we invite you to learn more about our organization and consider becoming a member or making a donation at akcommonground.org. Your support fuels our work to advance a more informed and engaged Alaska democracy. Thank you again for joining us, and I hope to see you at the MRF over the summer. Thanks, everybody.